down just a hair. All right, that looks pretty good. Let me get.
Apex is doing some technical stuff in here, y'all.
All right, we're centered up pretty good now. All right.
There we go. A little bit better. I can see you, you can see me.
Yep.
I can see me, you can see you.
Yep, let me level it out a bit.
Okay.
There we go.
All righty.
All right.
So guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we're going to be answering some questions on parking lot striping and pressure washing. So if you got some questions, drop them in a comment below. Other than that, we're going to be talking about some things out in the pressure washing industry that might can help you grow your pressure washing business, and also parking lot striping as well. A big thing going into the fall and winter time, parking lot striping is still very valid. Even in colder weathers, we can stripe depending on the paints that we use, depending on the surfaces. Obviously, pressure washing can be done in colder weathers too. But right now, moving into the fall, we can be adding a lot more parking lot striping and pressure washing jobs to our schedule, and we're going to help you out with some of that as well here tonight. Apex, you've been doing a lot of washing, a lot of striping.
Yeah, absolutely. And the season's just been on fire. I've been very busy, very booked up. Hard to juggle everything, really.
Yeah, we just got back from beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. Quite a drive out there from where we located, but we went out there and did some inside striping. I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Inside parking lot striping for the colder weather, even if it's raining or snowing outside. You know, absolutely. So, you got any questions you want to start out with, Apex, or?
Okay, so me personally, not really, but we do have some questions in the comments.
Okay, I also want to mention before we get to y'all's questions, drop them in the comment section below. But Apex, this is some news to you. We have some information from our website, and Apex will be handling that as needed. Whomever purchases a dumpster pad training course gets to select one other pressure washing course for free. Just email me, text me, let me know which one you want, and we'll get them logged in any one of them, no matter the price.
Man,
what do you think about that?
Sounds like pretty good value.
And I got something even better for y'all. We're going to be giving away something a little bit later. We're going to talk about that. But another promotion that the website's running for about a week, if you purchase the parking lot striping course, you get all of the pressure washing courses. Guess for how much?
How much?
For free.
Man.
So, y'all, take advantage of it. Obviously, pressure washing and parking lot striping go kind of hand in hand. So just kind of recap, dumpster pad training course, you get one other course for free, no matter the price. On the pressure washing side, for the parking lot striping course, if you purchase that within the next 7 days, you'll get all of the other pressure washing courses for free. And what'll happen, it takes about 5 to 8 hours for the system to update it, but you'll see once they log in, all of those other courses will be available for them to watch and learn. Do a lot of learning. So, other than that, we're going to be giving away something a little bit later. Apex don't even know what it is, so big surprise there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some questions, Apex. We'll take one at a time and go through them, each one of them, very carefully here.
Okay, so our first question comes from John Comer. He says, best way to wash new construction asphalt parking lot, no chems, question mark? Well,
the chemicals, you have to be very careful. And also, we're not going to pressure wash, quote unquote, an asphalt parking lot. Now, you can do a power rinsing on it, but you don't want to actually use pressure per se. Anything over 700 or 800 pounds of pressure is going to aggravate that surface and do some damage on it. So we can do a power rinse. You're really familiar with it.
Yep.
That can be an open ball valve. That can be a pressure tip. Let's say we got a 4 gallon per minute machine. You would want to use the white tip at about knee height, and You know, you can power rinse the parking lot, and it pays really good. As far as chemicals go, we have to be really careful with our chemicals that we use on asphalt because it's a petroleum product. And if we use a degreaser on it, we can deteriorate that top seal coat, the tar, some other things involved in the process of making asphalt. So we don't want to do that. But two chemicals that we can use, one of them is TSP. That can be bought at most hardware stores or either Sherwin-Williams as well. And follow the instructions on that. You can downstream it, you can X-jet it. You can also apply it with a scrub brush, like if you have an oil spot out there, TSP. Another chemical we usually have under your kitchen cabinet is the good old Dawn dish soap. Both work about the same way. They have different actions of how they work. So a lot of times if one is not doing exactly what we need, we can add the other one in there. And Dawn dish soap and TSP do go together. It's a mild cleaner, and it really won't aggravate that top of that asphalt. So apply that, let it dwell for 5 minutes or so, and then power rinse, not power wash. But moving debris off the blacktop with a power rinse is a really good way. Using some blowers as well, along with the water flow, is going to help you. Brooms, it's a tough job, and that's why we generally charge twice as much for cleaning asphalt and blacktop versus surface cleaning concrete.
Yeah, and I can think of one benefit to using the water is you're going to have next to no dust whenever you're moving all that off of there.
Wetting it first, that's right.
Protect your lungs, stay healthy. And it is recommended to use machines with a higher flow in order, because it's more so the flow that really moves that aggregate and gets it out of the way quickly.
Yeah, that is exactly correct. You're using a very mild pressure to dislodge it. Some of that soap as well. Dawn dish soap is very sudsy. It helps float out some of that debris, lift it slightly off of the surface so the water flow will get it. Now, if you're using an 8 gallon per minute machine, you're going to go about 3 times as fast versus a 40 degrees tip in a 4 gallon per minute machine. So the 8 gallon guys out there, y'all know that is night and day difference going from a 4 to an 8. In our case, what we'll do is take 2 10 gallon per minute machines and pair them together with a Siamese kit with a large buffer tank, and then we're utilizing somewhere around 15 to 18 gallons a minute to move that debris and that sludge and whatever you're cleaning off of that blacktop. And in that case, we're probably going 5 times faster than a single 4 gallon per minute machine. So having that equipment upgrade is really going to speed up the process. And the beautiful thing about it is you're still charging the same amount per square foot. So if you can do more faster, obviously that's more profits for your business.
Yeah, time is money. He's got another question about this. He says, if there's dirt on it, it may look different when it dries.
Not necessarily. If you get a good clean on it, it shouldn't dry with any discoloration unless there were some contaminants on that asphalt that has damaged it prior to you getting there. I recommend taking a lot of pictures, let your customer know that you're going to have great results. That's what we're going for, but not absolutely flawless clean at times. Sometimes there's something spilt on the asphalt that if you did try to remove it, you can start to damage the asphalt. So keep that customer expectation in check, because they may expect this parking lot to look absolutely sterile when you're done, and oftentimes that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, and with anything you're doing, setting realistic expectations to the customer is something that goes a long way. And
yeah, absolutely. One other point before we move on to something else: whenever you see a parking lot that's got a lot of automobile spills on the asphalt surface, it's a good opportunity for you, as being an exterior cleaning company or a pressure washing company, to go in and talk to that customer and let them know the longer that motor oil and hydraulic fluids sit on that asphalt surface, it's deteriorating that quite rapidly, if not days, maybe weeks. But that needs to be cleaned up a good way is with Dawn dish soap, stiff bristle broom, or either, like we was talking earlier about this product called TSP. Really two great products to clean it. Again, you're not gonna be able to make that spot disappear totally, but you can get it to dry up, remove that surface level oil, prevent damage to the asphalt, and most importantly, keep a slip and fall from happening or help prevent it. So that's real important to businesses as well. A lot of times these businesses don't know who to call. You can imagine if you're running a fast food restaurant or a dollar store or something like that, and you got all these oil spots out in the parking lot, they have no idea who to call. You know, they're dealing with inventory, they're dealing with staff, people calling in sick, the girl's $20 short in the register. They got a lot going on. So sometimes going in and introducing yourself can really net you a lot of extra jobs, fill out your schedule, and in turn make some huge profits.
Absolutely, I love the sound of that, man. So, I've been wondering about dumpster cleaning. Like, we've got a pretty efficient system, and you teach how to do it in your online video training. What's like the number one thing for efficiency, for saving time, for getting your route done and getting home?
So if you build out the route with dumpster pad cleaning to be most efficient, if you had the equipment, let's say a 5.5 gallon per minute pressure washer with a buffer tank that held 150 gallons, and this setup could really fit in the back of a pickup truck, you know, where you can be more efficient, mobile, kind of in and out, that sort of thing. So your equipment's going to matter. Also your cleaning solutions, having the proper cleaning solutions like we teach in the course, is going to digest and help emulsify some of that stuff in that dumpster pad. That way you can get it broken up, pressure washed up. A lot of times we teach you take some of their same debris that's in that dumpster pad, one of these large snow shovels, and just put it right back into their dumpster container where it belongs.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really handy tool. Push brooms, couple shovels, that sort of thing. An extra pair of shoes.
Yeah.
I really talk about this a lot. A lot of times when we doing dumpster pads, we don't get dirty, but the bottom of our shoes do. And if you got a nice truck like Apex guy, you don't want to be hauling that stuff back on the floorboard.
Yeah.
So switch out your shoes before you hop in. You know, so that's some pointers there. But building out a route where you can have 8, 10, 12, maybe even 15 dumpster pads that you're cleaning every weekend can bring in an enormous amount of money into your business. That by itself, but what's really important is you developing a relationship, like in our case with Waffle House, where you clean the Waffle House dumpster pad, but also you cleaning the sidewalks, you cleaning some other areas around the kitchen, possibly parking lot striping there, window cleaning, other things on the building. You know, these buildings have flat tops, so a lot of debris collects on these flat tops. Cleaning that debris off the roof and gutter system is very important. And again, the cook, the staff is not going to be able to make this happen, so they're going to have to hire it out. So that's a really good upsell. So dumpster pads is kind of like a gateway into getting so much other business at that particular client's establishment, and where you can go in and clean a dumpster pad and develop that relationship. Not only you clean it every couple of weeks, but you're doing all of the other exterior maintenance as well. And I mean, the profits can skyrocket after that.
Yeah, you build a good reputation for yourself, you do quality work, that word of mouth is going to spread and you're going to get more work. We got a new question here from PWS. It says, do you sanitize with bleach before starting the clean?
Absolutely, it's a great point. I actually teach that before I even walk into it. Even the debris on the ground is getting sprayed with SH, a mild solution, 2% is good enough. Your dwell time's important on that. You know, obviously we don't want to spend a whole lot of time in that dumpster pad, typically 20 to 25 minutes. Part of that time is going to be our first application of a 2% SH. That's going to dwell 5 to 7 minutes. Studies show that after about 5 minutes at 2%, a lot of the bacteria and things that are in that dumpster pad become harmless to us. Obviously, we don't want to be touching our face anyway, but you know, it's an extra safety measure in place. So before we walk into it, before we touch anything, take a quick visual assessment of it, spray your SH, watch your clock, 5 to 7 minutes. Now you can go in, pick up the debris, and start your cleaning, and you out of there. Typically, 20 minutes. I got them down a little bit tighter. I can do them in about 18 minutes, in and out. Some of my other students are just getting started out, tending to be closer to 30 minutes, but in and out, on to the next one. Sometimes we have doubles right next to each other, so obviously that's going to take a little longer, but you're charging double the price. In addition, some apartment complexes have 7 or 8 or 9 dumpster pads on their premises. Imagine an apartment complex that's got 300 or 400 residents there. They're going to need multiple dumpster pads on the property, and you can go in once a month, every couple weeks, and clean those. A good selling point, obviously, is keeping the dumpster pads clean for the residents that's putting the trash in the dumpster area. Slip and falls, trash debris waddling through. Another thing is rodents.
Yep.
A big culprit of rodents in apartment complex derives from the dumpster pad. I mean, it's a feeding ground, it's a buffet for them. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They're in the dumpster pad, populating. Then they get into the residence, the apartment complexes. As gross as it sounds, roaches, I mean, that's where they start. Bird, a fowl coming in and feeding it. I don't know if a lot of you know, but bird poop is highly toxic to humans. So, birds are feeding in this dumpster pad if it's not being maintained, pooping on everything, the handles to the gate, the fence, the thing that you slide back to get your trash into. Is really not a good scenario for residents to be putting trash in an unclean dumpster area. And if y'all are like us, when we were kids, mom would hand us a trash bag and the kids would go dumping in there. And, obviously kids are not as cognitive as an adult putting their hands on their face. So keeping it sanitized and clean is important. But that also goes to fast food restaurants, gas stations, things like that, where you have the fast food staff. Speaking of Sonics, that's how we got started in the Sonic business. Pressure Horse and Sonics, we started cleaning their dumpster pads. The selling point was these people that were working at the Sonic, delivering the trays to the cars, cooking in the kitchen, they were also tasked with bringing the trash out. Sometimes a big old wheelbarrow full of it. And oftentimes these were teenagers.
Yeah.
So teenagers are going into these dumpster pads, slipping and falling, getting hurt, getting cut.
Man,
things jumping on them, ants, roaches, rats.
I couldn't imagine having to finish a shift after I slipped and fell in the dumpster area. Now I have grammar site trash juice all over me.
Yeah.
Trash juice. I mean, if I was the health inspector or something, I wouldn't want that person even walking anywhere near the kitchen if they have garbage juice on them.
Yeah, so keeping it maintained. One thing about the Sonics that we maintain, you can actually go in there literally and sit on the ground and be fine. And sit on the concrete after you start maintaining it every 2 weeks. It barely gets dirty, so that makes your job a lot easier. You're still making the same money, but you're rolling in there cleaning a clean dumpster pad. You've seen that quite often where it's, little to nothing in there because we're maintaining it. And also, Apex, what a lot of people don't realize, the smell of these dumpster pads just putrefying in their parking lot, especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
All that stuff heating up and the smells. Nobody wants to pull in at a fast food restaurant, a nice steakhouse, and the first thing you do is when you get out the car, smell the garbage area. I don't, for sure.
I know of a drive-in place, and they have a row of stalls, and it's right next to the dumpster area. So anybody downwind from that, when they let their car window down to get their food, I mean, the smell is just, it's there. So I see, every time I pass by, I see that row just completely cleared out and vacant, and that's money they're missing. They could literally have that money, that revenue come in just by having those back online from having a cleaner dumpster area.
I tell you what, whenever we finish this broadcast, I'm gonna have Apex text me the name of that place. I'm gonna contact them Monday morning. It might be something we can add to our schedule there for sure.
Absolutely. And so John Comer has another comment here, a question. He says, have you ever experienced washing a concrete area and X-jet beforehand, and after you see a rust line / rust that seems to appear, not all the time, but I have noticed a few lately for some reason?
And what is he actually adding? Applying a SH solution?
Yeah, so he's washing a concrete area and X-jets it beforehand, and then after, I'm assuming after he washes or X-jets, he sees rust start to appear.
So yeah, you know, SH, sodium hypochlorite, is an oxidizer. So in the past, I've seen rust actually come out of our pressure hose. And guys, whenever you're downstreaming, or you know, not so much for an X-jet, but if you're downstreaming, you need to flush out your pressure hoses before you finish with the day. You know, that SH sitting in those pressure hoses obviously is going to deteriorate some of the stuff. As far as the rust, I'm not really familiar with that. I'm thinking it could be more of a chemical reaction. I would typically tend to think that it would probably rinse right off. It would probably just sitting on the surface. But also, if you can send me some pictures of it, maybe I can get some more insight of what you're dealing with and kind of help you figure it out with it. But we've seen a lot of stuff appear on concrete after you finish washing. Most of the time, there's streaks, but other times it could be some contaminants that were on the concrete before you cleaned it, and now you've cleaned the mold and mildew and the dirt, but there's some residual stains that were there before, and you weren't able to see them because they were covered up by the mold and mildew, dirt, and that sort of thing. So, you know, think about that. It could have been some prior contaminants on that concrete.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that brings up another point, Apex. We just did a striping job, and one of our students to our Sonic course, Roy, washed the concrete, and they had so much overgrowth on the concrete, he actually had to cut it back. You know how when the dirt starts to, and grass starts to fold back into the parking lot on the edges?
Yeah.
That's an incredible upsell. A lot of times, if you can spot this before you give the estimate, give a different line item price for cleaning up those edges, and we've done it. You know, I'm not in the lawn care and landscaping, but I can go rent an edger or purchase one and have it in the shop, clean up those edges, shovel that dirt and stuff that's folded back onto the concrete, and so give you a much cleaner outcome and much cleaner look. And that's what Roy and them was doing on this job that we did out in Slidell, Louisiana, where they cut it back, and he said it was a lot of it. So it was something, you know, you can start adding into your pressure washing quote, make an extra $300, $400, $500 depending on how bad it is, you know.
Yeah, a great way to tie everything together and just give it an overall better look.
Oh, much cleaner look for sure.
And then, you know, I was thinking, if you're any sort of a handyman, if you see like a broken latch or something on the dumpster door, you might be able to.
So yeah, we've done a good bit of that. Yeah, repairing the broken boards on the dumpster pad. A lot of times these trucks come in there and grab the dumpster container, and those guys are in a hurry. I mean, you're dealing with heavy equipment, heavy things. If it bumps the fence, I mean, what, you got 4 or 5 boards broke on it. A lot of city codes dictate that these dumpster enclosures have to be kept and maintained. Sometimes the wind will grab these doors if they're not fastened properly, break boards and stuff. So Apex has done a lot of that for some of our clients as well. Great upsell. I mean, it could be hundreds of dollars. Go in there with a little skill saw, cut some few boards, drill them in place, and man, you make some serious money. You know, $400 or $500 per hour, you know, plus materials. Many times, again, we were doing a bunch of banks that the people that work at the bank, the tellers, the GM, the bank president, the CEO, they don't have a drill set and all that. They're not going to go fix the dumpster enclosure.
Yeah.
And plus, they don't know who to call. You know, they would have to, you know, look on Google and try to find a handyman service, or, you know, maybe a construction crew to come out and fix it. But if the pressure washing contractors can take care of that, you become so much more valuable to that client, you know, where you can solve problems and have solutions for them at the ready. Makes their life a lot easier. They cut one check. They have to deal with one vendor.
Precisely.
Makes it so much easier on them.
Yeah, they already know you and trust you and know how to pay you, you know, so that really helps smooth things along.
Yeah.
And We got another comment from PWS. He says, a turbo nozzle eats up that grass growing over the edges.
It does, but I'm gonna tell you what it also do. It will cover you from head to toe with mud.
Yeah.
And y'all can ask me how I know that.
Yes.
But yeah, the turbo nozzle does do a great job cutting that grass back. But I find if you had an edger or either like a flat shovel where you can go in and kind of trim it back, flip some of that stuff back over or get rid of it, it'd be a lot less work with the turbo nozzle. But I've done that actually on for parking lot stripe when we go in and prep the parking lot first. And obviously, we try not to paint over grass that's in the little seams and expansion joints. You take a turbo nozzle and hit it. And I mean, just mud everywhere, at that point, in your ears, it's some fun stuff for sure.
Yeah, it's got its time and place,
Would you think an edger, cleaning up those edges would probably be a little bit cleaner?
Yeah.
Really easier, huh?
It would be much cleaner and easier, using the right tool for the right job. It's going to increase your efficiency. And I would rather be getting paid to do that rather than having to deal with it as an annoyance for more work for me to do for something I'm already getting paid to wash. I'm not getting paid to mess with grass. If I'm gonna mess with grass, I like to make some extra money.
Make some money
Optimally.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of times, guys, what you can do, those customers may not even be aware of that, but you can take some photographs of it, not a ton of them, not 8 or 10 of them, but 1 or 2 in the bad areas and let them know, different separate price. If they elect not to do that, then it's not your responsibility being out there for free, like Apex says, and cutting it all back for nothing. So definitely add that in. Even if it's $200 or $300, if it's a large parking lot, we've seen them be as much as $1,200 to go in and cut that back. And one guy can do it in the afternoon, the day before you go power wash. A lot of extra money. A lot better than doing it for free, for sure.
Yeah, and got a new question here. Rick Washek says, is there any regulations on having concrete pads and totally enclosed? There is a pizza shop near me that has dirt with just wooden fence around 3 sides. Front is completely open.
Yeah, so from my understanding, it's a city code. Local ordinances dictate that, in general, a dumpster pad should be completely enclosed with gates on it, obviously, in good condition, so the gates need to be able to open and close properly. Also, in some areas, they're requiring that there's a hot water faucet and a cold water faucet in the dumpster pad. A lot of local health organizations and authorities know that the population of rodents and other pests are they're originating from these dumpster enclosures. And then in larger cities, then you have a rodent population that can get out of hand quickly. And it's all coming from the local pizza shop that's not cleaning their dumpster pad, and there's pizza all over the ground out there. But yeah, to answer your question, that's be a local city, a code in your county, and that definitely could be a good selling point to bring that up to their business, that your dumpster pad's out of code, it needs some repairs, it's not being maintained, the cleanliness of it is substandard, and it's not a big ticket item, but it's an important item for that business to keep up. In addition, you can make a lot of money doing that as a foundation to your pressure washing business, just cleaning these dumpster pads.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. Getting the real deal details that actually matter on the job site. That's awesome.
Yeah, and let me say, there's 2 types of pressure washing jobs out there, residential or commercial. There's the jobs that the businesses and homeowners need to have done. That means they must have it done. HOA's on their case, their gutters are full. HOAs are now writing letters for contaminated roofs, the algae and moss growing on the roofs. Again, the gutters being full, that's a big problem. Homeowners know they need to have that done. Slippery sidewalks, back patios, very algae buildup, slippery. And then there's the commercial side where you have dumpster pads, you got other things in the parking lot that need to be cleaned. It's a real important word, that word need. That's a must have. And then you have the other side of it where you want to have it done, where it's not absolutely necessary. You know, the windows are a little spotty and they would like to have them clean, but it's no big deal if they don't.
Yeah.
What I tend to go to is the customers that absolutely need to have it done. In parking lot striping, there's a federal law, you know, for example, that dictates that the ADA markings have to be maintained. Can't be faded, the paint can't be chipping. Well, that is the first thing I'm going to bring up to that business. They have to have that done. They need it done. It must be done. Then I'll address what they want done. So once I get my foot in the door, then their wish list, you know, we can line item it. You know, they may want this done and that done, but they need another thing done. So that's the way those upsells start to really accumulate larger profits for your business. So need and want. Think about that whenever you go into job sites looking for new work, marketing to new customers. What needs do they have? And then what wants do they have? Make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And guys, parking lot striping, you can make so much money parking lot striping.
You did.
Yeah.
he did this past week. What did you buy?
Man, some space in my bank account.
He's done had like 4 new trucks this year. What's going on?
Oh man, tax man gonna love me.
Yeah, Uncle Sam. Huh?
And, you know, like if you think about a striping machine, like a Titan machine, kind of like an aircraft, how much operational time versus maintenance time on that machine can you expect?
So you would go by hours. You know, if you're putting 8 hours on a striping machine, you can expect a good 30 minutes of PM preventive maintenance on it.
Yeah.
Now, about once a month, or but maybe every 6 weeks, what we'll do is we'll take our striping equipment and give it a total 2 or 3 hour PM on it. We're changing the engine oil, we're checking the carburetors, we're cleaning out filters, pressure hoses, guns. We're actually cleaning paint off of the equipment. You know, that happens. Your pickup tube starts to get a lot of paint on it, scraping some of that off. So, you know, about every 6 weeks, you really want to pay an afternoon back to that equipment. Because you never know, the next day you could get that $30,000 job call and they need you again right away. And now your equipment's kind of coughing and chucking up and not working right, and you're out there getting clogs and stuff. We've done it before, you know, but, you know, always pay that back to that equipment, keeping it up to date, keeping the engine oil, I tend to, you know, want to do this more often than not, purging the machine out, especially if you switch in between latex paints and solvent-based paints. Y'all know that's a little tricky there. So the machine doesn't love to do it, you know, so we're kind of forced to do it. You got to do a certain clean out procedure, and you need to make sure you're spending time cleaning those filters out as well. All those filters being clogged up, you know, could prevent your pump from building the optimum pressure and atomizing your paint properly. A lot of times a student will send me a picture of a painted line, and we've got to basically diagnose it from a picture, but a lot of times it goes back to the filters and the tip guard. As you know, that tip guard can get clogged with paint on the outside of it, and it causes a deviation in your spray pattern as it's being sprayed down, causing those edges not to be sharp as well. Another little trick, Apex, and a lot of people don't know, you can take that tip guard, and if you got an old pot, I wouldn't do it in any of your good cookware, but an old pot, and ball it for 10 minutes. That old paint, latex or solvent paint, you can just scrape it right off with a pocket knife very easily after that.
Oh man.
Just boil it.
Yeah.
Heat does the trick for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on something a little earlier that caught my eye. So if you have a customer that's being very urgent with you, like let's say a business owner, they need an ADA pallet, like just a whole pallet laid out in front of their business. They need it because the fire marshal is coming and they have to pass that in order to get their lights turned on. So them being urgent with you, what can you then do?
Well, I'll tell you a little quick story. Fast food restaurant, I don't know if I should say the name of it, calls me late at night. They had just failed an inspection. It was in the summertime, it's still daylight. It's about 7 p.m., 8 p.m. I went out there and looked at it. The fire marshal had written them a fine for the ADA, and it literally took 1 gallon of paint. Now, what I had to do, I told this fast food restaurant, and it's one of the higher end fast food restaurants, if you know what I mean. I said, look, my schedule's booked out for the next week. The guy was like, well, what does it take to get you here? I told him the work that it took us about 35 minutes to fix this problem, less than 1 gallon of blue ADA paint. And I said, look, if I gotta reschedule 2 customers for tomorrow, one was a wash job, one was a striping job, that puts them back, you know, a day. And then sometimes when you reschedule a customer, they cancel. You know, not necessarily every time, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
So I told him 1,500, and immediately he was like, "Tell me who to write the check out to." So I wasn't trying to gouge the customer, but I had to revamp my whole schedule for the rest of the week, which pushed everything back a day. That Saturday I was going to go fishing. Guess what I didn't do? I was out there, you know, still fulfilling my schedule because everything was backed up. So I got paid $1,500 for 35 minutes of work, and the blue paint I had probably cost $18 at that time, and I didn't even use a whole gallon. So urgency, price goes up.
Yeah.
And it's like that in any business. My air went out a few months ago. I'm calling this guy out for on the weekend. It's like 85 degrees here in my house, and man, they have a weekend charge, a surcharge, an emergency.
Oh yeah.
Hey, he changed a little capacitor. It's like $700.
Yeah.
I was like, and I went on Amazon. I bought me a new capacitor just to have here. It was literally $31.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean you could YouTube it and how to change it, but you know when you in a bind, you know you pay that premium. And,
Yeah.
You know, and you can let your customers know, hey, let's get on this before it becomes a problem. You know, so save them a ton of money. Otherwise, that same $1,500 job, I would have probably done it for $350. You know, if I could have had scheduled it in our routine, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair deal. You know, you have to keep things fair. I like the phrase equivalent exchange. You know, you're giving them your time, they're giving you their money, just keeping everything nice and fair. And you know, they are going to pay a little more, but they're getting up and going, operating. They're not missing revenue that otherwise they might miss, or paying hefty fines and all this other stuff. So it is.
Well, you know, a lot of times whenever you got people snooping around your property, writing fines for one thing, they're going to find other stuff. So, you know, we can always bring that up to a customer. Let's get this handled, your striping, just so you don't catch the attention of someone else back in here looking around, you know. So, and you know, every business tries to do their best to adhere to all the codes and regulations, but obviously they may be slipping in the kitchen, or the dumpster pad's really nasty, the striping's out of code. And those are things that we can do as entrepreneurs and as business people to bring this to their attention, to have it corrected, you know, get them on schedule. And then you can also do a maintenance schedule with them where you say, hey, we'll be back in 6 months to refresh this area. A lot of times they're very open to that as well. Now you have future work booked out. Very important, getting that schedule booked out weeks, if not months in advance.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, this is a Q&A, so for those of you in the stream, if you have any questions about parking lot striping, pressure washing, be sure to drop them down below and we'll get them answered for you in their entirety.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I wanted to I know there's some more people jumped in to the live stream. Again, our website's running a special. We said this a little earlier. If you purchase a All-Pro parking lot striping course, within about 5 to 8 hours after that, you'll see every other pressure washing course will be populated inside of your website that you log into. So that'll be free to you as well. And that's going to be for about 7 more days. And then if you purchase the dumpster pad training course, you can select one other free pressure washing course. You just have to let me know which one you want, and we'll definitely get you hooked up on there. Also, Apex, I was going to mention, whomever wants to leave a comment, if you're interested in getting a free X-Jet, we have one X-Jet that we can give away. It was courtesy of X-Jet. We absolutely love the XJet and its capabilities. So if you want to enter to win, just drop a comment, and you can drop multiple comments as well. I would like to win the XJet, whatever you want to, just mention something about the XJet and you'll be entered in. And then we'll contact you as soon as we pick a winner, and we'll ship out free XJet. I believe the XJet that I have is rated for an 8-gallon per minute machine, but also they do work, that same XJet will work for a 4-gallon per minute machine, just not optimal, but it's free, and it will work for a 4-gallon, but it's set up for an 8. It's an XJet with the length of hose. It's in a box. It's got some little proportional valves and stuff in there. And if you got any questions about using it, whomever wins it, I can walk you through exactly how to use it, how to mix your chemicals. I have actually a chemical ratio chart on our website, on our training page, BillyDavidsonVIP.com, that'll teach you exactly what ratios to mix with an XJet for different cleaning jobs, downstreaming and stuff like that. So it's a good resource to have for sure. So just drop a comment in the comment section if you like to win the XJet. You can do it here on the live, or even after the live is ended here in the next few minutes. So whoever wins it, I think the XJets are $150 now. So it's a free piece of equipment that you can use. Personally, I love the XJet. Like I said, it has made me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, speeding up processes. I pre-treat my concrete sometimes with them as well. It's a good tool to have. It doesn't do everything, but it's a good tool to have on the tool, on a wash trailer. Whether you using a 12-volt system, or I think they got the 24-volt systems out now, gas roof pumps and stuff like that. The XJet's there too. You never know when one of your pumps are going to go down and you're post-treating some concrete, and that XJet surely will do the job as well.
One thing about that I've found in my experience, because I have a lot of those systems, the XJet and the downstreamer, okay, it's just so much more convenient to have that instead of having to pull out the soft wash hose. And now you have the soft wash hose and the pressure hose out. You got to make sure you don't tangle those. I find that, I really just, I love using that downstreamer, and I love using that XJet. It just makes things a lot more quick and clean. I definitely use those every chance that I get, where I don't absolutely have to throw some extremely hot chemical on something. For most cases, I'm breaking out that XJet or that downstreamer. It just makes it a lot faster.
Yeah, sometimes it just keeps it simple, smaller areas. With the XJet, you're carrying around a bucket, or either you got a backpack bucket container on your back. It has its uses. Like I said, it's not for everything. I typically use it as a backup plan if one of the other pumps go down. But there's other times we want to throw a 3 or 4% down real quick. And it's a smaller area. I mean, boom, the XJet's there. It's easy to clean up, rinse out. You're not flushing out 200 foot of hose, as you would on a soft wash system and that sort of thing. And what a lot of people don't realize, the XJet can achieve a solid 3% SH. And there's a little trick with the XJet. It's not in the technical books, but just from my experience, if you bring that throttle down on your pressure washer to 50, 60, 70% throttle in your XJetting, I've gotten a little hotter mix than 3%. I wouldn't tell anybody about it, but I think I've gotten just above 4, depending on the SH that you have. Obviously, 12.5 is, the industry standards, but during the summertime or warmer weather, that 12.5 might actually be 13 or 14, and then that XJet is going to pull, a good 25% of that, sometimes 30% of it, and there you getting into that 3 and 4%, depending on exactly how hot your SH is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, and that also applies to a downstreamer as well. I mean, guys, I've had a situation where I filled up a bucket with downstream, and it had like a little green tinge to it, damn near, nearly, and man, they've just gotten so much better as the years have gone by. Downstreaming has gotten a lot better. Like, you see a house with some really nasty green on some vinyl siding. you can downstream that, you know, once or twice. It's gonna just come right off 9 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely. Well, the higher draw downstream injectors are out there on the market, and they're great. One thing about your downstream injectors, guys, if you can detach it from your equipment and flush it out, what I teach is just drop it in a bucket of clean, fresh water and let it stay there till the next time you use it. You won't have that salt and calcium build up in the mechanisms of that downstream injector. I mean, we've had downstream injectors last 2 or 3 years, and we're using them every single day. Like the fittings are
Yeah.
wearing out, but it's still drawing good. I can tend to think that the older a downstream injector gets, sometimes the draw rate goes up a little bit. You know, some of that stuff, those orifices open
Yeah.
up a little bit. But a downstream injector is great if you're using a high draw downstream injector. GP makes a great one. There's some other ones out there as well, but high draw is the term that you're looking for. In Apex, when I first started pressure washing back when dinosaurs were roaming the earth 31 years ago, our downstream injectors were like 30 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah, and then on top of it, we couldn't get 12 and a half. You know, like the strongest bleach I was getting like was 4%, 5% in jugs out of, you know, the local grocery store.
Man.
And now you're reducing that down to 30 to 1. So a lot of times the downstream injectors were not all that good to use. So we were forced to use pump up sprayers, you know, mixing our pump up sprayers and then spraying a vinyl house and then going back and washing. But now with technology, with downstream injectors, higher flow machines, higher draw rates on our downstream injectors, we can usually achieve a good 1.25% on a downstream injector. So long as you got a good hot 12 and a half and you're not going over 200 feet of pressure hose, because obviously all that coefficient drag in that pressure hose, especially 3/8 pressure hose, is going to put back pressure back down there on your downstream injector and reduce its draw rate. And if it's too much, you'll notice it won't draw at all.
Yeah, you'll
So, you know,
use an open ball valve. I mean, could you do 300 with an open ball valve?
depending on your equipment, on an 8 gallon per minute machine, 300 feet of pressure hose with an open ball valve is going to give you probably 0.75 coming out
Yeah.
the ball valve, which is sufficient for cleaning vinyl siding and some stucco. Not all that great for pre-treating and post-treating concrete. You need a little something stronger than that. But 300 feet of pressure hose, open ball valve. Now, if you put your wand on it with a black tip or either a J-rod, you're probably going to put a little bit too much back pressure on that downstream injector, and it's not going to draw at all or barely. And guys, you got to think about every time your water makes a 90-degree turn, not only you losing PSI, but also you creating back pressure on your pump. And that's why I teach is dialing down those RPMs a little bit on that pressure washer motor to kind of keep that back pressure from building up so much right there at the downstream injector at the outlet valve. Works like magic. You can try, you know, also we teach about dropping some little drill holes in our surface cleaner as well. If you got a plastic hub, we got some videos on that, kind of speed up that bar. You know, just some little techniques that we like to teach, kind of help speed up your day. And Apex, the way I look at it, if I can take an 8-hour pressure washing day and shave it down to 5.5 hours, I'm home a lot faster. You know, I got my shower and got some dinner when I could have been just still working. So, you know, getting home, doing some marketing early, sending out some invoices, you know, by doing a few tricks, tips along the day, being optimized through your pressure washing business can definitely save hours off of each day. And think about that 3, 4, 5 days a week. You know, that's some serious time you're saving for sure.
Yeah, and guys, like, take it from me personally, you know, before I really started getting into all of this stuff, I was working at a certain big company, and it's the transition here. So, to take you back a little bit, I was working full-time at a job, and I remember specifically the first time I got a check over $1,000, I was so excited about it. Like at my job though, this is back at my job, because they gave me a little bit more overtime that week, and I was so excited and stuff. And then you fast forward a few years, and you know that that feeling whenever you get the job, you land the job, you study how to do it, you practice a little bit, then you finally get out onto the job and you're your own boss for that day and you get to go and take pride in your work and just do the work to the best of your ability, and then the customer comes out and they absolutely love it and they have a check for you, or
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, whatever. That is one of the most fulfilling and best feelings in the world. It feels like freedom. It feels like some good money. And man, it's only like 2 o'clock. You still have the rest of your afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, having some daylight when you get off, you know, it makes a big difference in quality of life. Speaking of that, I was just mentoring a student for parking lot striping last Thursday it was, and he's put in his notice to leave his job. And he, you know, you hear about the 9 to 5 job. He literally was telling me his window to his office was like a prison cell. You know, looking every day, but spent 14 years there, looking out the same window, the same parking lot, messing around with the same desk, working for the same people that didn't treat him well. They didn't like him. He didn't like them for the last 14 years. You know, the relationship wasn't good, but he had to stay there. Now he's put his notice in to leave that job. It was the happiest day of his life. Got his parking lot striping business up and running, matching. And I told him, I said, look, don't quit your job until you at least match your income by 50%. So, you know, if he's making 100K at the job, get to 150,000 a year in your parking lot striping business, then put your notice in to your job, or at least where you have it projected where you're going to make that kind of money with some contracts and things. And again, everything in life isn't promised. You know, his parking lot striping business could fold, but also his job could lead him off through some corporate cutback. So either way, you would rather take the risk and bet on yourself, have that bit of freedom, leave out of that office. Also mentored a truck driver last week. You know, thank God for all the truck drivers, but it's a rough job. This guy's been doing it. He's in his mid to late 50s. He's ready to get out of it. He's put his time in, 25, 26 years in it. He's starting a parking lot striping business, already landing some jobs as much as $10,000, $11,000 I'm helping him bid on. This is more money than he's ever made in his life at any one given time.
Yeah.
You know, driving a truck, he's making $2,000, sometimes $2,800 a week. And those checks are nice, but man, those $10,000 and $11,000 checks, you can do so much more with them and plan ahead, put some money back. The kids need braces, the dog needs to go to the vet, the car needs new tires. That's no longer a problem if you're making a lot more money, you know, triple, double the money that you used to making for sure.
Yeah, and not just the truck drivers, but like, you know, my plant workers out there, guys, you know, you live in that plant life, you know what that's about. A lot of these jobs, it takes away from your time at home. You're out there, and that's important, you know, like that's something to be proud of. But if there's an option where you can study up a little bit and figure out how to make money like this, it is definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, and as far as the parking lot striping, even our pressure washing courses, they are geared to teach you how to do this with my back end mentorship on it. So I'm going to be there helping you at least for the first few jobs, at least for this first few months, talking to you constantly, giving you that confidence. And I know it can be very scary and cause a lot of anxiety doing something like this, but having someone that has your best interest in mind is going to go a long ways helping you out. I've mentored students where their first job goes great, the second job goes great, and now they got the confidence, and all of a sudden on the third job, everything falls apart. One of them was they're not doing the maintenance on their equipment like they should be. So now we fixing the machines on FaceTime at 1 a.m. in the morning, trying to get these guys back up and running. It's real important to have that lifeline, someone to reach out to whenever, you know, it hits the fan, as they say, for sure.
Yeah, it's okay. So we've got some comments to catch up on here. First one is from PWS. He says, fast food places are the worst for not wanting to spend money until they really need to or get written up.
There we go with that word need again. You're absolutely right. A lot of times they'll wait till they need it done. Again, because a lot of the staff in there is not really even thinking about outside until they get written up or get a visit from Board of Health or something like that. So if we can step in, find some of these fast food restaurants that potentially is going to need you in the near future, you know, as professionals, we can drive through the parking lot and know there's a problem. So bring that to their attention. You know, let them know, hey, let's get this taken care of before it becomes a problem with the, you know, the higher ups. Even sometimes they have corporate come down and visit, and they need to have this cleaned before corporate comes in. They need to have it cleaned before, you know, a health inspection, you know, at a fast food restaurant. So some of that's important. Getting in there before it becomes a problem is always been my go-to way to try to market our business for sure.
Yeah, and Connor Lander says, what's a good place to buy pre-built trailers for a good price?
Well, I may be a little biased on this. If you're going to buy a pre-built system, I absolutely love what Southeast puts out. Southeast Soft Wash, y'all probably familiar with his channel. Cody out there builds some top-notch quality equipment. And in addition, this equipment that he builds is been engineered to last in the pressure washing business. We're dealing with, you know, corrosive chemicals, harsh elements up and down the road. And you know, another thing a lot of guys don't think about, you're up and down the highway pulling a trailer, things are rattling around and moving around and shaking and breaking. You know, so I think he puts out some really good equipment. But also there's a value in putting this stuff together yourself. And Apex, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I started out with a 14-foot utility trailer, and I built it from the ground up into a full-blown commercial pressure washing and soft washing rig. I have the capability on this trailer. I have two 8-gallon per minute machines for flat work and stuff like that. I've got downstreaming, X-jetting. On the back, I have two 50-gallon tanks. I have a gas soft wash system. I keep my surface cleaner on the back. I've got all kinds of buffer tank, all kinds of hose reels, and all of it has become optimized over the years. You know, everything has its specific spot for a reason, and you know, everything from the plumbing connections being really tough and hard to break. So as you're going down bumps on the road, just reliability stuff. You know, stuff breaks sometimes, but you find a better way to implement it. And over the years, you really hone it in. And if I could recommend one thing to anybody building a trailer is before you start bolting stuff to it, take and put some bed liner on the top of those boards. Now you don't have to coat the bottom because you still want the wood to be able to breathe. Yeah. And so yeah, you put it. See, like I put Raptor liner. I've been hearing stuff about Line-X on some streams here lately.
Yeah, anything like that would probably work.
You know.
But also, guys, if you build a trailer yourself, you know where everything is. You know how to work on it. This stuff inevitably breaks down, rattles apart, corrosion gets to something. You know, so there is a value in building the equipment yourself. Even if you bought different pieces of equipment from different makers, and then as in modules built out your trailer. That way, if a component went down, and you know, of course these pressure washers are expensive, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. But if that unit had a problem, you could pluck it right out of that trailer and throw another one on there, and keep your crew running, and then send that one off for repairs. You know, it's a good value in being able to know how to work on this equipment. But if you're not a handy guy and you need something immediately, you know, like I said, Cody down there at Southeast Soft Wash puts out some great equipment, top notch. A lot of thought has went into it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not just throwing this stuff out. They've thought about it, engineered it. Things didn't work out. They changed it. You know and that's what you want to see in companies that are innovating. You know, they just not just stuck and stagnant on one particular design. I mean, if you think about our automobiles are always changing because a lot of times better ways come out. Whenever you build your first pressure washing trailer, the second pressure washing trailer going to be different because you're going to find out new ways to do things. We've built a lot of trailers over the years, but if I had to build another trailer at this point, it would be exactly like the trailer I have now because I've went through all this trial and error, and we got things exactly like we want. We know how to work on it. We spring a gas leak, chemical tank leaks, buffer tank starts leaking. We know how to, to work on and get it fixed. And I always, say, hey, I can get pretty much anything on my pressure washer fixed at the next exit. Like a lot of this stuff you can buy at your local hardware store. Small things. We're not talking about the large pressure washers and stuff, but the small things that break. You want to know how to get in there and fix it and be familiar with it for sure.
Yeah, and small things that break, you really get what you pay for. So another thing I would suggest to somebody that's building their own or looking to buy one is don't cheap out on your components like your bypass lines, your fuel lines, stuff like that can really be a pain if it breaks, takes away from your job time. One thought that occurred to me earlier when you were talking about Southeast Soft Wash is, that's built by pressure washers for pressure washers. Like they actually do the thing that they're building the equipment for.
Yeah. Cody's been in business a long time, got a lot of experience. But if I was going to go tomorrow and buy a pressure washing trailer or a skid setup that was pre-built because I got some contracts ready to go, that's where I would go to. I would just take a ride down there and grab some equipment for sure.
And then as far as building your own, there's a lot of video tutorials on how to do a lot of different things. So you can use that to really build up your skills of like handyman stuff, how to use a drill, how to bolt something to the trailer. One little tip I can give you guys is your bypass lines. I like using those blue bypass lines. The brand is Pekar. I'm not even affiliated with them at all, but I've never, it's really hard to develop a leak on those. And, you want to mount your machines, generally speaking. Here's a big thing about trailers, guys. Make sure you have your tongue weight because you start bolting stuff onto it and you don't have I've never seen it, but I could imagine, you want to keep some good tongue weight so your trailer doesn't start going nuts on you when you're hauling it down the highway to your first job.
It brings up a very important apex point here. Whenever you have a skid in the back of your truck or a pressure washing trailer, you got some of this equipment on it. Just know this. This is very, very important to know. God forbid there's an accident and that equipment flies out of your truck or off of your trailer and it hurts someone or even God forbid kills someone, you're going to be held responsible. The driver is always responsible for his vehicle and the load security. Securing that load. Yeah. And it's not to say that we can bolt something down where it'll never come off, but we need to make really sure we're doing a good job with it, even asking for a professional help how to secure some of this equipment to that trailer and do everything you can. In the event that something did fly off, the authorities could look at it and see that you did do your best to bolt this down. If you just got a 400 or 500 pound pressure washer sitting on the deck of the trailer with nothing anchoring it down, 25, 30 mile an hour little wreck, that stuff's coming off and flying. Who knows how far it can fly through somebody's windshield. A hose reel. Yeah. If you put 300-foot hoses on a hose reel, now you're talking about some serious weight, 200-300 pounds, I would imagine.
That will rip through a car like paper mache.
All of that has to be very much secured and bolted down properly. I'm not a big fan of ratchet straps, but if that's what you got to have, make sure your load is secure, because ultimately if you behind the wheel, you will be held responsible in those situations. So think about that whenever you're loading your truck up. Yeah. And there's some things everything's not secured and fastened, jugs and, gas can, but man, at least all the heavy stuff for sure, make sure you got it tied down right.
I got a couple of tips for that real quick. So, generally speaking, if you're getting like a trailer, you can probably afford an 8 gallon per minute skid machine. So what I like to do personally when I mount my machines is there's a bolt that goes from the bottom of the metal skid and it goes through a rubber bushing. A rubber bushing. What I like to do is I'll take that bolt out and I'll place my machine on the trailer where it needs to go, and then I remove that bolt, and then I'll drill straight down through the hole that's already there in the machine through the wood, and then I'll get bolts. But here's the important thing is washers and lock nuts. These lock nuts have Teflon on the inside of them, and what that does is when you're tightening them up, it's not going to vibrate loose over time. The washers give it a much bigger clamping surface to where, like, if something happened, I mean, it's going to rip that board off with it. Like, it would take so much to get that off of there, you know, and it's really best to do all four corners, because then, you just have a much stronger thing. And then for
large washers, the more you
Yeah.
can spread out that washer, even if it was a strip, like a plate under there, where you spread that load out between 2 or 3 different planks under there. You know, another thing you think about, this stuff is behind you, and we have a large piece of glass behind us in our truck. You can have an unsecured load coming into your vehicle, causing some very serious problems in a very small wreck, 15, 20 miles an hour.
I've seen some guys get like a headache rack on their truck.
Optimally, that would probably be the best thing. Now, I'm starting to thinking about, we got a toolbox on our truck that would, you know, help prevent some of that stuff. But guys, these are just things you got to think about. Another thing, pulling trailers always, you know, kind of getting into safety here. Always walk around your trailer, secure the load, check the hitch, check the load again, check the hitch again. Man, you don't want your trailer coming off your truck, even if you got the safety chains. It's going to ruin your tongue. There's no telling what it could do back there if it comes off that hitch, you know. So always check everything. As much as we travel, you know, we go quite often several hundred miles. We'll stop and check our load every 100 miles. Check the trailer, look at the tires. I even reach down there and feel the wheel bearings in the hubs on the trailer. Man, if one of them's smoking hot, I know we're not getting back on the road, you know.
Yeah, we know a guy that he had a bearing, axle go out.
Axle came off, yeah. Poor Kevin. Also, I want to mention, shout out to Kevin. Kevin lost I think the leaf springs and everything. He had a rough day that day. I remember him calling me. He's like, "You never guess what happened," and he proceeded to tell me the story, and I would have never guessed. Another guy that's built his trailer is a good friend of ours, Jason, Dirt Blasters, power washing and parking lot striping. He has a YouTube channel. Go check him out as well. He's on here live with us, I'm sure. Apex has a channel too. You want to let them know what your channel is here?
So yeah, my channel is Apex Pressure Washing. I've got all sorts of content in relation to pressure washing, soft washing, some parking lot striping, and a few other things. So all they got to do is go to the little search menu, type in Apex Pressure Washing, and you're going to populate their feed there, right? Yeah, absolutely. And
well, I got to say something. What about me? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. Again, if you want to win that X-Jet, guys, go ahead and drop a comment down in the section below. Have we got any comments? Anybody want to
they're going nuts for that X-Jet.
We're going to give it away. I might have 2 in the shop. I'm going to have to look. X-Jet has sent us some X-Jets over the years to give away. You know, so I know I got 1 for sure. If I got a second one, we'll pick 2 people. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, and so we got a couple of new comments. And, okay, so Connor Lander says, I heard the brand of a surface cleaner really matters. What's your guys' thoughts on a Whirl Away or a Whisper Wash? Well, I got another one. I got another one to tell you.
Neither.
General Pump, man.
Yeah, GP Hammerhead. Now look, the Whirl Away and Whisper Wash are great. They are, but the GP Hammerhead is phenomenal. Even if you're only running a 4-gallon per minute machine, you go with a 20-inch surface cleaner. I know a lot of the experts say 16-inch. 4 inches per gallon. Yeah, you can run a 20-inch, especially if you're pre-treating, post-treating. But if you're running an 8, that 24-inch GP Hammerhead's got 3 spray tips. Man, that thing will take a beating. We got one I know that's 5 or 6 years old. In a minute,
bro, that thing's sitting on the trailer like, I'm tired, boss.
It's got an alamite where we can grease it every now and then.
Yeah.
And we got some new ones too. But man, this old surface cleaner, it just won't give up. And I'm just totally gonna run it until it does. I gotta know how long it's gonna last. Yeah. We pull it. Sometimes I don't even pull it out the trailer, like if customers are around, because it just looks that bad.
She's not the prettiest, but she gets the job done.
Man, she will clean. That GP hammerhead, $500-600, 24-inch. If you're running an 8-gallon or above, if you're running a 4, you can get the 20-inch. They may even make an 18-inch GP hammerhead. I think we got one, a small one.
Yeah, we do have one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, super good. Now, like I said, the Whirl Away Whisper Wash, we're not getting paid to,
Yeah, we're not sponsored by
for
that.
either one of them, but I'm just telling you my honest opinion, that GP Hammerhead's a beast. And like I said, it's got that alamite in it. Now, there again, I drill a few ventilation holes in that top hub. I know there's been a lot of talk online about it. We were the first ones to discover it, I believe. From my understanding, and I've actually talked to some manufacturers of some of these surface cleaners, I think y'all going to start seeing that throughout the industry where they kind of come with it. They're going to try something else by putting a bleed hole in it where debris can't come out. But we just drilling little 3/8, 4 or 5 holes in the top of that surface cleaner, and we've noticed a 10 or 15% increase in our volume of work. So surface cleaning, square feet per hour. Doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're doing, let's say 20,000 square feet and you can get out of there an hour earlier, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I believe what happens is there's void space above the bar, and the surface cleaner, I've noticed like it can pick up about a gallon or 2 gallons of water and aggregate. And
think it's that much? It just holds it up there, huh?
It's got a little bit of weight to it, because I've noticed if I tilt it to the side and I let it all clear out and
it'll flush out like a toilet, yeah.
And you notice right after you flush that thing out, it's got an increase in RPMs, and it's just less water in the way of your cleaning at the end of the day. So yeah, if they could implement, I was thinking about maybe like a mesh ventilation hole or something to let a lot of airflow through, or possibly a chute, kind of like a lawnmower with maybe some wire mesh or something that lets volume out, because the thick whiskers, they've got holes in them, but I think it needs more above the bar line where all that stuff seems to get trapped. I think
another thing, guys, and y'all can leave a comment in the section below if you've ever trimmed some of that skirting around that surface cleaner to let out some ventilation, to let some of that dirty water out and some debris. Y'all know that helps out a lot. Just be careful, because that skirting is there to prevent rocks from being thrown at you, at your customers' windows, at the person 2 blocks away walking their dog, because those rocks come out of there pretty good.
Yeah.
So be careful with that, but you can trim a couple little sections back about 1 inch wide, shouldn't hurt nothing, but put a couple ventilation holes in the top. I find that surface cleaners create a vortex back up against that hub, and whatever happens to get up there is not coming out while that bar is still spinning, unless you tilt it and kind of break that vortex a little bit. But if we can have some ventilation holes in the top of it to keep that from ever forming, or keep it down to a minimum, that's going to speed up that bar. You got to realize that bar, every time it hits something, it's reducing its RPMs at some point. Whether it's hitting dirty water, rocks, debris.
And it's damaging it too.
You get some damage on your tips, but we want those RPMs to be at optimum speed under that surface cleaner for better cleaning experience, holding down streaks. You can actually move forward faster with the surface cleaner, that sort of thing. So just optimize your equipment best you can as well.
Yeah, and Connor Lander says, you guys are great and very informative. Just gave both of you guys a follow. Excellent,
Appreciate that,
man.
Connor.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been growing pretty good here on YouTube as well, putting out a lot of video content. It's challenging at times working, but I have a passion for teaching this and making some informative videos. So we're coming up on, I think, 76,000 subscribers, which kind of blows my mind to think about. That many people watch the videos, and many millions and millions of people have viewed our content here and on Facebook. We've been doing some stuff on Facebook as well, trying to get some traction. Maybe the same audience, maybe it's a different audience, I'm not sure. But pressure washing content, parking lot striping content, and just business information in general, I think sometimes real important. So we're going to keep doing it, and we appreciate every time y'all like, subscribe, view it. We see those analytics, and lights that fire for that passion even more and more. And I know Apex is going to be doing a lot this fall on his channel. So he's got some really cool ideas coming up. And don't forget about Jason out there at our Dirt Blasters. Yeah, he's been killing it this year. He's been striping quite a bit, washing more than he has the last several years. Jason was a student of mine early on, back about 4 years ago. Now he's like a brother now, real good friend.
Yeah. And, okay, so we got one more comment from S. Lawrence. He says, any plans for any live parking lot striping training coming up?
That would be fun. Maybe we can figure that out, yeah.
So
in person, parking lot striping. Now what we do as well, if a student goes through the parking lot striping course, and there's some things that I put in place, some rules I put in place, and y'all can tell me if y'all agree, if this is a good idea. I have my student that potentially wants to come down and have a work day with us, in-person training. I have them go through the striping course all the way. I track their progress. I can log in. I can track whoever's progress on there. When they take that knowledge test, I literally get a ding on my phone, and it does it all day. They take the test, and it'll tell me, so-and-so, John Doe, took the striping test, and it gives me his score. If they fail, or, sometimes they score too low. I'm all about excellence, so I want to see you get in the 90 percentile. If you're getting at 75%, it's just not good enough. I'll be calling you, I'm texting you, I'm emailing you. Hey, go back and retake the test. Think about this. This is where your weakness is. I get those up above that 90%. A lot of times they're 100% after we give them a little more training, go back and watch this section, answer some questions. So the point is, once they go through the striping course, they get 90, 95, even 100% on the striping test. Then, and only then, I'm going to have him come down in person, or that person, and come down. We had a husband and wife team that's coming down soon. The reason is because when you get here, my time is extremely limited. I'm not charging you anything. That's one other thing. I'm doing it, because you bought the striping course. So I want us to be able to speak the same language. I don't need to explain to you how to put gas in the machine. And I'm not trying to be a certain kind of way here, but I don't need to teach you how to put paint in a bucket, how to mix your paint, how to strain your paint, check the viscosity. I don't need to teach you how, to start the machine, setting it up. You should know all of that from that striping course, and you will know it. What I want to do is teach you advanced tricks when you get here. Teach you some things that you might be struggling with, but I don't need to be teaching you the basics. You might have 4 or 6 hours with us. Me and Apex are always on the move. I mean, when did we get back? Was it Friday morning? Yeah, we lose track of days. We've been traveling hundreds of miles. And so when you get here, we need you spot on. We need to be speaking the same language. And we need to get those issues corrected. Then go grab some dinner or something and send you out, and you'll be good to go. And a lot of times what I do is sometimes I lose track of a student or two here, hadn't heard from them in a while. Then 4 or 5 months later, they call me. They just landed a $100,000 parking lot striping job, $80,000, $60,000. This is money that's changing these guys' life, like all the way down to the core, changing what they drive, what they eat, where they live, the clothes they got on their back, what their kids are wearing, what their wife gets to go shopping or not. I mean, it starts changing a lot of stuff. Change the dishes that they got in the cabinet. You know what I'm saying? They ain't eating off the paper plates no more, which ain't nothing wrong with that. But you got money, you're gonna up your lifestyle a little bit. And that's so. It's just a blessing to see on my end where we can take someone that was a bit hopeless, coming into this, and now listening to them on the phone. Sometimes we do video conference calls with them, and seeing that light in their face, it's just, it never gets old for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And
let's do another question or two, and then I am starved. I'm gonna see if Apex wants to go hit walk-ons down the road before they close. Yeah, if y'all in the Hammond area, meet us at walk-ons in a little bit.
we're gonna go grab a bite to eat, have some fun. Let me see. PWS. He says, love an X-Jet, but I'm in another country, so it might be a bit unfair for you guys with shipping.
Yeah, maybe so. Huh? What country are you in? Canada or? I know we got a lot of Canadian viewers.
And S. Lawrence says, copy that. Sounds like a plan. I'll follow that protocol and follow up. Listen for my ding.
Now, Mr. Lawrence is been knowing him for a long, long time, so I'll be looking forward to meeting Lawrence in person.
Yeah.
And he has a backstory for sure. He went through some problems, and I think everything's good to go. But he's an old friend for sure.
Good deal. Yeah, man. If you show up locked in, just already knowing, the basics, and you're going to get an opportunity to learn some really advanced techniques and efficiencies that's just going to up your game that much more.
Definitely. And sometimes just being around like-minded people that has that motivation, that drive. I mean, you just go home with all of this new fire lit and go out there and just, if you got a family, man, they deserve for you to do, like you got kids, they need their dad to do well. They need their parents to do well. If you're married, your spouse needs you to do well. They're depending on you. And if you're out there hopeless, depressed, you don't know where to turn, and then you can find a new career, a new skill set, change all of that around. I've seen it so many times, and I know I preach about it a lot about the children. And when I was a child, I came from a very disadvantaged situation, and I know that those children that y'all have, your small ones out there, they need their parents to do good. You don't need to be struggling over if gas rises a nickel or two next week, or if bread goes up 5 cents. That shouldn't be a problem. You deserve better than that for sure, and we can do our part and get you there. Obviously, it's going to be a challenge on your part. You got to be motivated, have a lot of ambition, but with someone on your side pushing you in the right direction, it makes it so much easier. You don't feel like you're climbing this hill all by yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the beautiful thing about this is it's going to give you as much as you put into it. Like, it's a very
Isn't
fair
that the truth?
thing.
That is so true. I never thought about it like that. It's very fair. If you put into effort, you will reap those rewards. I've never had anyone that just flunked out and failed. And I had a couple people that got they had to move because they were in the military. Like, they were stationed at one place and then they re-signed, and that was understandable. That happened, and they're not going to just stop doing it. They're just put it on a back burner for a few years while they serve our country. So that's definitely something that's awesome to hear, and we'll be there whenever they want to pick it back up. But most of our students, even part-time, like Jason.
Yeah.
Jason's always the example I go to, and there's dozens of others, part-time, very part-time, changing his life with that money, making thousands of dollars extra a month, part-time, and I mean really part-time, like a Saturday here and there, So you don't have to be in it 7 days a week. Back in the day, I used to work about 9 days a week, so I'm not recommending that. 4 or 5 days a week. If you're part-time, maybe a day or two a week, pressure washing, parking lot striping, you can change things up. Apex, if you got anything to add to this before we roll out, I am about starved out. Go get us something good to eat.
So your part-time can become your full-time, and there's it's a very fulfilling thing to have your own full-time.
Satisfying, yeah. It gives you that little bit of peace of comfort when you lay your head on a pillow at night.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can go wrong in life, and this shouldn't be one of them. You can't control a lot of things in life, but this you can control. You got people that want and to help you see good. One thing I'll leave y'all with, not all of your friends want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
You probably got some really close partners that hanging out at your house, and you don't know it, but they ain't got your best interest at heart. They would kind of chuckle at if you failed. Separate yourself, find those people, pick them out, remove them out your life if you can.
Yeah, they say
that sort of thing. And surround yourself with like-minded people that want to see you do good, and you want to see them do good. It's a mutual thing there.
It's hard for an eagle to soar if he's among buzzards.
Boy, that's a good one. I've seen that one before. Any
Yeah.
other quick questions on here?
Yeah, Connor Landry says, I'm upgrading to an 8 gallon per minute machine that GP hammer. Will it not tiger stripe if I don't use a pre and post treatment? Sometimes see people using SH to clean driveways, and some people don't. To answer your question, if you go slow enough, it's not going to tiger stripe. If you have some really hard organics, just pre-treat it.
Yeah, you can do something called cross hatching as well, where you go in one direction and then cross hatch it in another direction. One thing about tiger stripes, a lot of times we're more critical than what a customer will be. I've let my customers know sometimes there's some striping that may be left over that might fade in the next few days, but we're going to try to do our best effort to keep it down to a minimum. But the end result is the concrete is going to be clean. It's going to be, a lot less of a slip hazard as well. It's going to look better. It even smells better when they walk out the door. But, always let that customer know, hey, there could be some problems with the concrete. There might be a stain here and there. There may be a little striping, but we're going to do our best to keep it down. But that 24-inch surface cleaner with the right tips on it for that application with an 8 gallon per minute machine, possibly with a bit of a post-treatment, you should have no stripes whatsoever, and all your concretes will look pristine when you're done.
Yeah, I've washed thousands of pieces of concrete with that particular surface cleaner. If you don't go too fast, if you go at a reasonable speed, 99.9% chance it's not going to leave any tiger stripes. So yeah, just
maybe a little bit of cross hatching in a couple areas if you need it, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I guess we're going to wrap this up. Again, y'all keep dropping comments. I'm going to pick a winner for this X-Jet. I'll leave a comment or have Apex tell you to call me. And we'll get it shipped out to you this week, and you can start using it. And if I got 2 of them in the shop, I'm going to dig around in there. I'll find 2 people, but if not, it'll be 1. We're going to be doing some more giveaways probably next couple weeks whenever we get some time to hop back on here. I got something interesting I want to kind of give away. So y'all make sure y'all like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, share.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want to do. We appreciate y'all watching, guys. We love y'all. Thank y'all for being here tonight with us, and we'll see you all in the next video.